Hey friends, and welcome to Atypical Life. So today we're in the car. The topic will be depression. If you'll see a little Tia right there. She's watching Shrek, if you hear that in the background, because we're at karate. I've been trying to do this video for a while, but there's always something to do. Recently I discovered that I've been in a depression for about 2 months now. And so I thought, let's touch this topic since it's one of those adventures that aren't fun, but everybody goes through. So what is depression? According to Google, feelings of severe despondency and dejection. Depression symptoms: little interest or pleasure in doing things in general, feeling down, depressed, or hopeless, trouble falling or staying asleep, or sleeping too much, feeling tired or having no energy, poor appetite or overeating, feeling bad about yourself, difficulty concentrating on things or making decisions, moving or speaking slowly, or being so restless that you've been moving around a lot, and suicidal thoughts. So for me, I have been having depression since my teenage years, so since puberty hit, and it runs in my family. I started in high school. I kept sleeping too much, like every chance I got. I also was feeling so bad about myself. I was anorexic for several months, probably about 6 months. After Haley was born, I got to a point where I just kind of thought that was life, was normal, whatever I was feeling. But then I had Haley, and when I was pregnant with her, depression went away for the most part. Well, I thought it went away, but I wasn't as wise as I am today. But it didn't. And then when I had her, it came back like super bad, like to where a point I wanted to hurt people because they irritated me. And so I went and saw a counselor. I thought that it was because of having a baby and not just regular depression, and the counselor said no, and I was put on medication. When I got pregnant with Nikayla, I was a few months pregnant when we had something happen to Haley. She's fine and all is well now, but that was almost 8 years ago, and something happened that triggered a lot of past memories and caused me to go into bad depression. And because I was pregnant, I didn't want to be depressed while I was pregnant. That's so sad. So I went to a counselor. I went to my doctor, my OB, and I told them what had happened and that I'm having a hard time mentally dealing with it. Like we did all the things that needed to be taken care of, but now it's time for mommy to mentally heal, and I was having a hard time. And I didn't want my daughter to see that. I didn't want Haley to see that. I didn't want the baby inside of me to feel it. So I went to see a counselor. I was blessed to be able to see a Christian counselor. And at the time I had very negative thoughts on medication, and I told her I did not want to do medication. One, I couldn't because I was pregnant, and even after I was done having the baby, I wasn't going to be on medication. I wanted to find other alternatives. So I did counseling, and she gave me a lot of very useful tools. So then I've been managing for the most part. A couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago, like my anxiety spun out of like control almost, manifested into me physically. So I started having chest pains. I thought I was fine because I wasn't thinking about anything that was mentally bothering me. Like there was nothing up here that was bothering me, but then I started having chest pains and all that stuff, and so then I had to really think about the medication thing. And then this pregnancy, and now we're here in this focus of depression because I've been worried about this pregnancy since the loss of the last pregnancy. My symptoms for depression when I was in my teens was sleeping, and then feeling so down about myself and like self-hatred that I went to the point of starving myself in order to look better, so I could feel better. Does not work. Then after high school and I started going to college and all that stuff, it went to a very debilitating state where I wasn't sleeping a lot because I knew that was a problem. Like, I recognized that, but I couldn't get off the couch. I couldn't move. I had no energy. I was tired even though I didn't want to sleep. And then I didn't want to move, and I didn't want to get up. And the only time I got up and did things is because I absolutely had to do it. So our house was quite often a disaster because I just couldn't make myself do it. The only thing I can do was clean dishes enough that we would have something to eat off whatever meal we were going through. I love to cook, but when I'm depressed, it is really hard for me to be in the kitchen cooking. So I only do it when somebody needs me to. So when we were first married, it was my husband. He needed me to cook. Well, he can cook himself, but I'm his wife. I felt I needed to cook for him. My kids, they need to eat. They need to have a bath. All their needs need to be met, and those are the only things I can muster up enough energy to do. So that was a problem. And then I went through the counseling, and I was able to recognize that and get a better control of everything. But I still go through waves. So now the current depression. I have been depressed now for 2 months, and I didn't realize it because I was blaming it on pregnancy stuff. And the way it looked this time, I had my first trimester. In the first trimester, I was exhausted. Wasn't very nauseous, a little bit here and there, but it was really easy. I was just tired all the time. And I needed to sleep. I needed to take a nap. And then I was like counting down the days for the second trimester it hit so that all of the first trimester stuff would go away. And then the first trimester went away. And the first week and a half that it really hit for me, I had so much energy. I didn't need to eat every 2 seconds to keep the nausea at bay. I could just go. I can eat breakfast, didn't have to be first thing in the morning. I can wake up and then have breakfast, and then I was like, let's go, let's do stuff. And then and so that went on for about a week and a half. Then it went backwards again. All of a sudden I was tired again, and I just thought, well, maybe it's just pregnancy, because some people are tired through their whole pregnancy, and it's just one of those symptoms that don't go away. Even though they tell you all the first trimester stuff will go away, not always. I had no energy to do anything unless I forced myself to do it. So that it went right back into that pattern. Kids needed to eat. I fed them. They needed something clean to wash. I didn't go and do all the laundry. And so the house has gotten tore up really bad. It's hard to get around because I just was so depressed. But the only reason I realized that it was depression and not pregnancy was because I set a notification to myself that I needed to talk to somebody about something we were going to do outside of the house. And I set myself this notification a week prior to when I wanted to do this. I was very excited about being able to do this, and especially being with the person and being able to just hang out with somebody other than my kids, another adult. And that notification popped up, and it wasn't that and all of a sudden I was like, oh no, I don't want to go. I started thinking of excuses. I just didn't want to leave the house. I don't want to leave. And I kept thinking over and over, wait a minute, but I was excited. I'm excited about doing this with this person. I'm excited about hanging out with them. But the thought of leaving the house was so much dread inside that it was making me crazy. And I kept going, this is wrong. This is really wrong. And it took a couple of days, and I told myself the next time I saw that person that we were going to make the arrangements, because dreading to leave the house is a red flag. And being as tired as I was should have been a red flag, but because I'm pregnant, I threw that out the door. So I went and I talked to that person, and I said, okay, let's do what we're going to do. but I still hadn't fully registered that I had the depression. So that day came, we talked about it, we're good. Like 2 days went by, and another activity that I wanted to do with the kids, but it would put me in a position to be around a lot of other people. It's nothing we do is super easy. It is not easy to just pile everybody in the car and get to whatever activity we choose to get to. It's not easy. It's not going to be easy, and I've accepted that. My family's accepted that. We make the best of it and we enjoy ourselves. But this activity popped up, and another friend texted and said, hey, this is what we're gonna, this is what's happening today. Don't forget, you wanted to be there. And it's really important for my kids to be there. They got to see another adult who has cerebral palsy, is stuck in a wheelchair, but she's a teacher, and she was, able to do all the things. And so it was really important for them to see her. And I knew it was. And that is the only thing that would pull me out of the house, is the fact that my kids really needed that. But that morning when she texted me and I was going to go, oh, I can't do it. I'm so tired because of the pregnancy, blame it on the pregnancy. That's when I realized, you have to leave. You cannot sit here. You cannot text her that you're not going. You need to leave the house today. So that was the first step. So that's how I handled it. Met with a counselor and I told her that. I said, God gave us enough tools in this lifetime that I don't need medication. I don't want it. And she gave me all these amazing tools that work really well. One of the main ones, and it's hard to figure out sometimes, is to sit down and go, what's truly bothering me? I start having anxiety before depression usually. And so if I can stop and go, what is truly bothering me? What is anxiety is usually the root of something that you can't control, or something you feel is a need that is not being met. And so she then had me do exercises to kind of sit down and think about like recent events and how they affected me and what happened. The next thing that is even bigger, probably should be done first, is when you realize there's a problem, do not keep it to yourself. That's really big. It took a lot for me to look at my husband and say, I'm depressed, and acknowledge that. For a long time in society and a lot of my family, we were taught not to talk about it. It's one of those things that it's not uplifting. You kind of sweep that under the rug and you deal with it the best you can and you leave it at that. But I learned the best way is to tell somebody. Tell somebody you feel safe with. Tell somebody that that loves you and isn't there to judge you and be critical, but that is going to help you. Sometimes just saying it is a big, huge difference. So this last time, I'm blessed to have a church, and I quite often would tell the ladies when I go through a little bout of depression or anxiety, I'll tell them. But this last one was huge. It was a lot bigger than I have done in a while. It was a bigger time span. And as soon as I realized it, I texted them and told them, this is what's happening. And then they were able to pray for me and listen. And that's really the first major step that needs to happen in order to overcome it. But back to medication. So I did learn those important tools, and they're very helpful. But when my anxiety and depression start manifesting into something physical, that's when I realized that maybe medication is good for certain circumstances. Maybe that I prayed on it, I asked people around me, and we all decided that if some people, it's more of a chemical, something in your body isn't producing what it needs to produce, or it's a physical thing that is causing this, and you have to take medication. Depression isn't all about circumstances. Sometimes it just happens, and that's, for me, happens and I don't realize it. And so I did start taking medication 2 years ago, A very low dose. It is enough to really help me and just to manage and make everything even. And I feel, I feel happy, I feel mad, but I can manage a lot better with it. So my thoughts on medication are that it is important. I used to believe that God didn't want us to do that, but no, the reality is he would not have given somebody the intelligence to figure out how to create those pharmaceuticals if they weren't needed for somebody. When it comes to medicine, it's something you need to discuss with your doctor and pray and think about for yourself. So that's where I'm at on that medication thing. I'm not taking anything because I am pregnant, and I probably won't take anything until after he's done nursing, because they don't really have anything that's safe for babies. Now, figured out that I'm depressed. What do I do next? How am I going to overcome it this time? Because it has been going on for so long. What am I going to do? Well, I am going to fight it. I like to use the term fake it till you make it. So I know it's a problem. I know some of the things that are going to trigger it and spiral out. And so I'm going to avoid things, but not everything. I'm going to force myself to leave the house like I am now. I am going to force myself to get up and clean the house. I do have to keep in mind that I am pregnant, that I do have to take it a little bit easier and a little bit slower. I shouldn't be lifting certain things. It's time now to get control as best as I can. Number one thing also, I should have mentioned this first, is I'm going to pray about it. I've asked them at church, my sisters in Christ, to pray for me on that. I'm going to pray myself, and then I'm going to get up and start doing something about it. I'm going to clean up the house. It's going to take me a couple days to get under control because of how out of control it is. It's going to be hard work. I had some of the ladies at church and some family members that I talked to about this actually tell me, hey, let us know if we can help you. We'll come over and we'll help you make it better. They want to be there to do that. But I know now, with the many years of experience I've had, it's something I have to dig myself out of. They can help me, and it would be great, and it would get done. But because of the way I got into the position I'm in, I have to dig myself out of this now. And I know that. And I know that's going to be how I heal from this round of depression. So what I do is I sit down in the morning with my coffee. I will think of the things that are the worst right now in my house. I will also put on timers. So that way, if I'm done with, so laundry will take up a good portion, but other things need to be touched. The kids' rooms need to be cleaned up. The bathrooms need to be cleaned up. Everything needs to be cleaned up. So I'll break those down in a time span. I usually do 15 minutes. The next video I do will be my cleaning over a couple of days to overcome this. That is where we'll go from here. That is how I will overcome it. When my living space is under control, it's easier to control the depression. Right now, because of everything, I keep going in waves. So it's been about a week and a half since I recognized that there's a problem, and I have had 2 or 3 really good days where I felt like I was on top of the world, and then a lot of days where I was just trying to make it through. So this is the plan to dig myself out of it, and I will take you along with me. It is not a fun adventure, but it is a venture this family does. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or things maybe I could have elaborated more on, or things that maybe I missed out on, please feel free to leave me a comment. If you are new here, we go on a lot of fun adventures on top of the hard ones in this channel. So please hit the subscribe button and we will see you next time.